It's my honor to welcome you here today to the 76th Annual Father of the Year Awards Luncheon. The National Father's Day Committee, part of the Father's Day Mother Council, not only honors great dads and raises the profile, channels funds raised by these annual awards luncheons to help meaningful philanthropies dealing with issues affecting fathers, mothers, and children. To date, the council has donated nearly $30 million to family-related charities nationwide.
We're at an exciting event, a couple days from Father's Day. We got three big studs up here to congratulate. We're going to hear from and be inspired by. So this is a great event, and I'm so honored and excited to be back here.
Such an amazing honor to be here today. When I heard I was giving my acceptance speech after Brett read his essay, I really wasn't sure I'd be able to maintain my composure here. This award is just as much for my boys as for me. They taught me how to be more open and patient. They actually bring out the best in me, and I'll always be so grateful and lucky that I have them in my life. I want to thank the National Father's Day Committee for giving me this award and recognizing my son Brett for being a great brother and just an all-around great person. Thank you very much.
It's an honor to be here, and I'm humble to be here. Just look, of all the things I've accomplished thus far in my life, I'm probably most proud of the fact that my wife Sharon and I have committed ourselves to being parents that we can be. But I want to thank my dad, who's here, for really investing in the dreams of his children, because without that, I wouldn't be here and nor would my siblings be here. So thanks, Dad. I appreciate the commitment. Thank you, and God bless you.
I'm honored to be here. Being a father for me is the greatest thing in the world. That is the greatest gift of having kids of your own. You want them to have the life that you never had. You'll do anything in the world to make sure that that happens. And that's what it is to be a father. Thank you all so much, and everybody have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan. As President of the Father's Day Father Council, it's my honor to welcome you here today to the 70th Father of the Year Awards Luncheon. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for the singing of our national anthem by the New Amsterdam Boys and Girls Choir. Thank you. That was wonderful. This is the New Amsterdam Boys and Girls Choir, 5th year performing at our event. We're always thrilled to have the kids here to celebrate with us. And a special thanks to their incredible director, James Backman. As a program, please feel free to enjoy your lunch. I'd like to start by personally thanking everyone here today for their support. We're honored that you've taken the time from your schedules to celebrate the 2017 Father of the Ashok C. Sani Aaron. Michael Strahan, Chairman and CEO of JCPenney, Marvin Ellison. I would like to take a minute and appreciate gratitude to sponsors. Should be running on the screen here. There they are. And a special thanks to our presidential sponsors, JCPenney, Peerless Clothing, PVH Corporation, and the Sani Family Foundation. Thank you for all that you do to make this event possible. We have a very exciting event this year. We're proud to recognize these inspirational men whose incredible dedication to their families, passion for their careers, and leadership in public service are truly representative of what all of us should aspire to achieve. We will be live tweeting today's event, so if you'd like to join us in the conversation or give a special congratulatory message to our honorees, you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at FOTY_awards and use the hashtag FOTY Awards 2017. So post some messages and some pictures, and please be sure to tag us. Since 1991, when the Father's Day Council was organized, we've recognized more than 500 outstanding dads. I'll share with you a brief video that features a few of these special men who have been honored with this award over the years. Please enjoy.
You know how a kid's walk around with the Bill of Rights in the diaper, he knows what he's entitled to. 6 o'clock Sunday morning, he's sticking his finger in your eye. Hey, wake up, pal. You promised to take me to the zoo today. Are you a pal or aren't you? Up!
Affection and love, one for another. I think it's something that exists in the heart of the fathers all over this country. And perhaps in the busy stress of our days, the problems, it's appropriate that we remember that feeling and give special honor to it.
But as fathers and mothers, it's impossible to delegate this responsibility, and our children ultimately will learn that happiness only comes in service to others.
You know, it feels kind of nice because I've been struggling most of this year, and you know you're a father when your kids look at you and go, "Daddy, you're still all right." You know, it's still okay.
Awards, like millions of other immigrants, he lived a life of quiet heroism, content to see his children thrive, even perhaps someday to grow up to be recognized and applauded like today.
And I hasten to inform the men of the motion picture industry, or remind them that before I was a father, I was a son.
A home is what really counts, not a house. A home is a mother and a father. Parents that care, and parents that love, and parents that sacrifice.
I only hope that all of those parents knew that I cared just as much for the lives of their sons and daughters, and I would do everything possible to protect their lives, just as I do everything possible to protect the lives of my kids.
I think our greatest duty as human beings is to do the most we can to teach our children to take care of their children and to take care of this planet. I thank you for honoring me.
Last winter I received quite a few awards, and all of them were appreciated very much, but I think this is probably the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Thanks a lot.
Good luck.
Some amazing past honorees. We're delighted to have some of them here with us today. If you could please rise when I call your name. Ronnie Wurzberger. Oscar Feldenkrais. George Feldenkrais. Joe Rivers. Mark Shriver. And Jerry Storch. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us here today. As a not-for-profit organization, the National Father's Day Committee, part of the Father's Day, Mother's Day Council, not only honors great dads and raises the profile of Father's Day, but also channels funds raised by these annual award luncheons to help meaningful philanthropies dealing with issues affecting fathers, mothers, and children. To date, the Council has donated nearly $30 million to deserving family-related charities nationwide. In today's world, it's unimaginable to think about the fact that nearly 1 in 4 children in the United States is living in poverty. With so many families struggling just to survive, underprivileged children need our help more than ever. We are pleased to be donating proceeds of today's luncheon to Save the Children's U.S. programs and Save the Children's Action Network. As many of you know, the U.S. program heroically works to break the cycle of poverty and ensure that the most underserved children in America are ready to learn by the time they go to school. As some of you may not know, the Save the Children's Action Network serves as a political voice for kids to increase opportunity for children and ensure a better future for us all. Every year, we have a field trip for the Mother's Day, Father's Day committee members. We visit an area where Save the Children is focusing its resources helping families and children. This year, Nancy McKay, CEO of Nest Fragrance, who is part of our Mother's Day committee, and here with us today somewhere, Nancy. Hey, Nancy. Okay. Had an opportunity to travel to Whitley County, Kentucky this past May with several Save the Children's team members to visit some of these kids at their homes. Nancy was inspired and kind enough to share her experience with us today. You can see some great photos from her trip on the screens above in a moment. There they are. And in her words, the work of the counselors to change the lives of children by engaging with them with books and reading was beyond moving. Importantly, what the Save the Children team does to provide hope and inspiration for a better future. That sounds a bit like overhyped, she said, yet it's not. Those counselors are truly doing the most difficult work possible by trying to grab kids and their parents who have little vision for the future and show them a way to learn. Through the structure and design of their weekly home visits, they are improving conditions and literacy in our country, one child at a time. So Nancy, thank you for all that you do, and thank you for sharing that experience with us today. This year, we're thrilled to support a new Save the Children's initiative called Summer Boost. We will be directly supporting Summer Boost with your text-to-pledge contributions today, which Mark Shriver is going to provide some details on in a few moments. A little bit about this program. Summer Boost helps children improve their literacy and STEM skills, which includes science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, increasing the likelihood of graduating high school and attending college. Summer Boost addresses the summer learning gap by decreasing learning loss that often occurs when kids are out of school for the summer. And now, as we turn to our awards portion of the luncheon, I would like to introduce today's Master of Ceremonies, Mark Shriver. Mark is the Senior Vice President of Save the Children's U.S. Programs and Advocacy and President of Save the Children's Action Network. Not only is Mark a good friend and a longtime supporter of the National Father's Day and Mother's Day Council, he was recognized in 2008 as a Father of the Year honoree. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Shriver.
Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. We're at an exciting event, a couple days from Father's Day. We got three big studs up here to congratulate. We're going to hear from and be inspired by. So this is a great event, and I'm so honored and excited to be back here. Thank you, Dan, for that really kind introduction. I thought the video was fantastic. It kind of gave me goosebumps. I was saying to Sunil Sani that it was amazing. I mean, you've got Ronald Reagan up there, General Schwarzkopf, Willie Randolph. You have two of my uncles, President Kennedy and Senator Ted Kennedy. I think Bobby Kennedy got the award. He wasn't on there. My father got the award. He wasn't on there. So I'm wondering whether we can get a Shriver on there next year, Dan. Not that we're competitive or anything like that. I also noticed that, Paul O'Neill got the award a couple years ago. You got Willie Randolph. You got Michael Strahan. You got a lot of New York people. And I'm from Washington, so I'm thinking maybe we can put somebody from the Redskins. No, it didn't go over so well. All right. I'm bombing. I think one of the reasons I'm asked to come up here is because I always bomb, and it's funny. I want to thank Dan and the council so much for the work that you all do on behalf of Save the Children and Save the Children Action Network. I ran Save the Children's programs for 10 years, started SCAN, and now I brought them back together. And I think the integration of the policy learning from what's going on in the field, what Dan so beautifully talked about and what we heard and saw in those pictures is so important, because we need to not only serve kids, but then make systemic change so that all kids enter kindergarten ready to learn. I was talking to Marvin Ellison about this just before we came out, and he was saying how in his family, education was the key, and how at JCPenney, they've really made a huge effort to invest in education. And it makes sense, not just because of the brain growth science that's out there, where we see most of brain growth happens in the first 5 years of life, but the strong ROI that we get through investing in children in those first 5 years of life. It's proven that when kids get high quality early learning programs in those first critical 5 years of life, they perform better in school, they secure higher paying jobs, they rely less on social services, and they contribute more to the economy. And despite what is going on in Washington, D.C. and across the country, honestly, where both parties can't seem to get along or do anything, there really is strong bipartisan support for investing in early childhood education. We work with Republicans and Democrats in Washington and all across the country. We're working with the Trump administration to make sure that low-income families can afford high-quality child care. We're urging Republicans and Democrats in Congress to invest in early learning, and we're seeing great progress on this. Just a few weeks ago, the new federal budget had strong investments in critical early learning programs, spearheaded by Republicans and Democrats, and we're doing it on the state level as well. In New Hampshire, we're working with Governor Sununu, a Republican, in the Republican legislature to create all-day kindergarten in that state. And in Seattle, we're working with the mayor and the city council to expand pre-K services. So the work we're doing is tough, and we have an ongoing battle on our hands, but the benefits to high-quality early education, as you all know, are critical. And that's when Dan talked about the Summer Boost program. It's so important. Kids that are in poverty in this country, in many cases, lose 2 months academically during the summertime, where kids that are in more affluent situations not only remain level on their academics, but actually go up in those summers. In those summer months. So this Summer Boost program is really, really important. Last year, we served over 1,200 kids in 41 schools through this program, making a profound difference in their lives, not only doing the STEM work, but also making sure that they're fed. 2 meals for these poor kids makes a huge difference in their lives. So now the hard part, I have to ask for dough. Do you all have phones? Is anybody out there? I can't see anything. This is when the crowd goes really quiet. So we're going to do this little text to pledge event, okay? By following a few simple steps, You can give any amount anonymously, or you can put your name in there that will pop up on the screen behind us, and it'll say how much money you're giving, or if you want to do it anonymously. Last year, we raised over $16,000, and we're excited to be doing it again this year. So here's how you can participate. You open up your phone to a text message on your cell phone. I can see nobody's doing this. Anybody want it? Yeah, that person in the back there. Thank you. One person who works for Save the Children. Okay. So you enter, that was a joke again. Enter the number you see up on the screen there, the 203-309-0782 in the address line. Type your name or company name, the amount of your pledge, and any short message you want to share, and then simply hit send. If you prefer, obviously you can donate anonymously as well. It's a tax-deductible contribution, and it'll support our work all across the country. So, is anybody going to do it? Anybody? Okay, so if it happens, we do it today, and then it's over. So if you don't do it today, you're not going to get a chance to do it. So we'll see if anybody goes up there, and wow, this is an overwhelming response. So there we go. In honor of work, that guy, Mark Schneider, gave $1,000. Thank you very much. So that's a huge deal. So thank you very much. We'll get a couple more, I hope, that goes on there in the science and technology work that Save the Children does all across the country. So we're about 1/16 of the way where we were before. Oh, there goes another one, Mark Heller. Thank you very much, $1,000. So I'm going to leave that up there, and you'll see a couple of these, I hope, going on and on. That makes a huge difference. So thank you to both Marks so much for your help on that. So we're going to get going with the program. My pleasure to introduce the Vice President and Publisher of Esquire, who does this every year and does a great job with the Ashok Sani All-Star Dad Award. Jack Isaac, come on up and give the award on behalf of the Sani family. Come on. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mark. Ashok Sani was a beloved husband and father. While he considered his family to be his calling, he also had a deep commitment to giving equal recognition to all. His dedication to ethics, truth, peace, compassion, and moral and social responsibilities all live on through the Ashok Sani Scholar in Residence program at the New York University and the Ashok Sani All-Star Dad Award, both of which are underwritten by the Sani Family Foundation. In the spirit of Ashok Sani, Esquire invited its readers to submit nominations for this year's All-Star Dad. The All-Star Dad Award honors a father who goes beyond being a responsible caregiver and a loving mentor. We look for fathers who give extraordinarily to their family and to the world around them, a man whose tireless efforts make life better for his children and his community. This year, the National Father's Day Committee, Esquire Magazine, and the Sani Family Foundation have selected Gary Oren as the 2017 All-Star Dad. At this time, I would like to ask his son, Brett, to come up and share his winning essay on why his father deserves this honor.
Hi, my name is Brett, and I nominated my dad for All-Star Dad. I'm a twin, and my brother has autism. This makes our home very different from many other homes. My brother goes to 7 therapies a week and 1 on the weekends, so we are pretty busy all the time. When my mom gets home in the evening, she is very tired from taking us everywhere, so my dad takes over with Kyle and his homework. We are both in 7th grade now, so we have a lot more homework than we used to, and my dad helps him as much as he can, which is a lot. Honestly, sometimes I don't have patience, but my dad always does. I can't believe how much patience he always has. And I know my dad is tired a lot because he just went and is in remission from cancer last year. And I know from his cancer treatment, he gets tired a lot faster than he used to. But he does what he has to do to make Kyle get successful in life. And thank you, Dad. My brother gets good grades because of him, and, well, helps him. My brother also does sports on the weekends, and my dad is there to help Kyle if he needs it and to cheer him on. My dad either goes to my game or my brother's game, and my mom does the other game. He's also very nice with my mom, which is great, of course. And since she does all the driving during the week to school and from therapies, doctor's appointments, cooking, walking Kyle's service dog, Clifford, and whatever else needs to be done at the house, she gets a break on Sunday. My dad takes us to yoga therapy and maybe the movies or Chuck E. Cheese and out to lunch on Sundays. Also, my mom is great at finding fun stuff for us to do, sometimes through an autism organization for a low cost. And my dad never has an issue with it, even if he is tired from cancer. We go surfboarding, skateboarding, boating, paddleboarding, concerts, biking, and boomers sometimes. Last summer, my dad was so sick that we did not have a summer vacation, and I know he felt so bad about that, he could just not make it that year. But this year, because of that, right after we leave New York, we're heading straight to Florida to Disney World. My dad does not ask for help, so I have to help him on his own because I have no clue why. Dad had a brother and sister with brother and sister with cerebral palsy, and I know he does not want to burden me with work and just let me be a kid. But I love my dad so much, and watching him work so hard when he does not feel good, I have to help. My dad will ask about my day at school and my baseball games if he goes to Kyle's. He makes me the best veggie bacon and grilled cheese sandwich ever on the weekends, and sometimes takes me in the evenings. We get frozen yogurt and talk together. I love my mom very much and spend a lot of time with her, so when it's just me and Dad out, it makes me very happy. He is a very smart man, so if I'm having trouble with math or science or geometry, he will sit down with me and explain it to me and make sure I understand. I never feel he is in a hurry or trying to get it done so he can do something else. I feel his love for me and make sure I understand what he is saying and has great patience. My dad is a great dad, and I know to me he will always be an all-star dad to me. Thank you.
Wow, such an amazing honor to be here today. When I heard I was giving my acceptance speech after Brett read his essay, I really wasn't sure I'd be able to maintain my composure here. But 2 weeks ago, Brett and I were working on geometry when I received a phone call. We could not really hear, and we had to get his math done. So Brett had another assignment to do. He said, "Dad, I think it's a telemarketer. Just hang up." So I went ahead and did that. Oops. My wife was up early the next morning, saw the email that was sent telling us about Brett winning the All-Star Dad contest. No one was awake yet, so she couldn't talk to anyone. And as some of you ladies might know there, husbands sometimes don't always remember to tell their wives stuff. So she was on pins and needles waiting to talk to us to find out. Brett was so excited, and when we explained to Kyle what Brett had won and that we were going to New York, he started telling us what he wanted to do. He wanted to go to the 9/11 Memorial, where he would probably cry. He wanted to go to the Statue of Liberty. He was very excited. Brett and Kyle had to take their finals early, and this is no small task because, as you heard, Kyle has autism. We tried to study and get in as much as we can, and because we were short and we were losing 4 days for studying. Every day, Kyle has 1 or 2 therapies, and time was limited. Brett had his own finals to study for, and most of his classes are honors, so he had been staying up late to study. But both the boys knew this was such a great opportunity, they worked really hard to make it happen. Brett did not tell me he wrote this essay or entered the contest, so I knew nothing about this. So as you can imagine, it was quite a shock. After reading what Brett wrote, it was hard to hold my emotions back. Honestly, I did not know how much my son was paying attention, because if he's not studying at a game or reading, he's usually online playing games with his friends. Having a child with autism does present some challenges, and there's definitely more work to do with Kyle than with Brett. And my wife and I both work hard so that Brett doesn't have to. But he's been so close to his twin brother that sometimes he can't help himself. He wants to put on his daddy hat and parent Kyle. And Kyle's such a loving, happy kid, and they're so close. Most of the time, Kyle doesn't even mind, and he listens to Brett. They hang out with each other and still share the same room. They go to each other's baseball games when they can, and many times Brett ends up being Kyle's buddy on the field. I am a lucky dad to have twin boys who are such good friends, and I know they will always be there for each other now and in the future. This award is just as much for my boys as it is for me. They taught me how to be more open and patient. They actually bring out the best in me, and I'll always be so grateful and lucky that I have them in my life. There's no way I'd be standing here today without my father, who was the ultimate role model. I can't think of a single thing he ever did to tarnish that image. He was always calm and measured in his responses, and I had to do something pretty bad to make him angry. He always made time for me despite the Herculean effort it took to take care of my brother and sister with cerebral palsy. This is such a great honor. I want to thank the National Father's Day Committee for giving me this award and recognizing my son Brett for being a great son, brother, and just an all-around great person. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was unbelievable. Your kid was unbelievable too, Gary. Wow, that was really beautiful. And your boys get along, and you have 7 therapies. And Marvin Ellison, you're next, so that's a tough act to follow. I'm sorry. Wow, I'm glad I'm not doing that. I had the real honor of spending a little time with Mr. Ellison before this event, and the really big honor of hanging out with his daughter, Gabrielle, and his wife, Sharon. You can read all about him in the magazine or in the program. I mean, he's got an amazing career for 30 years in retail. He's currently the chairman and CEO of JCPenney. He's been involved in many philanthropic efforts, mentoring programs aimed at developing at-risk youth. He really does a lot of work on higher education among minority students, and he's on the board of his alma mater, Memphis University. He's been named the world's greatest leader in 2016 by Fortune magazine and recognized as the 2016 Corporate Executive of the Year by Black Enterprise. But I want to tell you what Sharon told me just when we were having a Coke earlier. And she said, every day when the kids were born and still today, my husband goes in and checks on them every night to make sure they're all right. And I turned to Gabrielle and I said, how old are you? She said, 15. I said, he goes every night, every night. And what about your brother? He's 21. I said, he doesn't do that guy, right? And he goes, no, every night he goes and checks. And I said, wow. Sharon goes, I did all the work giving birth, but he's done a lot of the work doing that. And I think of all these awards that Mr. Ellison has, I think the most important one he has is dad, and you see that in the story that your daughter and your son and your great siblings and your father told me about what a wonderful man you are. So congratulations, everyone. Please congratulate Marvin Ellison as Father of the Year.
Hey, good afternoon. And I want to just start out by saying, Gary, congratulations. You got to be so proud of Brett and Kyle. Great job, Brett. That was pretty smooth. As parents, we get a lot of joy from our children, so I know you must feel great about that. It's an honor to be here, and I'm humble to be here. You know, I want to also say that I'm pleased to share this day with a good friend and great business partner, Michael Strahan. Michael's a great business partner for JCPenney, but typically when you deal with celebrities, you find that they're not what they seem. This happens to be one of the most authentic people that you'll ever meet, so he's a classic example of a contradiction of a celebrity, and he's a great partner, and again, it's a pleasure to share the stage with him. So look, of all the things I've accomplished thus far in my life, I'm probably most proud of the fact that my wife Sharon and I have committed ourselves to being the best parents that we can be. As mentioned, Sharon and I have been married for 25 years. She looks a lot younger than me. I think it's genetics, which is a good thing. And we've been soulmates for over 30 years. And I want to thank her for being here today and thank her for all the support. You know, family is important for me. I'm a middle child of 7 kids. Grew up in a 2-stoplight town in rural Tennessee. I got a lot of family at this table. If I start to name everybody, we'll have the clock running down on me. But I want to thank all of my family, my siblings, in-laws, my dad for being here, because family is something that's very important to my wife and I. And I get to Gabrielle in a minute here. My son Donovan, who is 21, he's going to school in Dallas. And so he spent some time with us during the semester in the house. I called it Dad Boot Camp. He's in summer school, and trust me, he would much rather be hanging out in New York City, but he's in summer school wishing he could be here. So, you know, although I'm honored to be here, I'm fully aware that I'm a work in progress. I'm a work in progress as chairman and CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I'm a work in progress as a dad, meaning that every day you learn something different. And every day is a learning experience to strive to take these 2 big assignments I have and try to be the best that I can be. But I want to share just 3 commitments that I've made to myself, to my wife, and to my kids about being the best father that I can be. And the first commitment is the commitment of being accessible to my children. You know, I read a long time ago that children spell love T-I-M-E, time. And from that, you know, I'm a person that travels a lot, all around the country and literally all around the world, but not one time have I missed a parent-teachers conference, a band concert, or a sporting event of my 2 children. And when people ask me how that's possible with such a busy schedule, I tell them I have a foolproof way to determine what's important to people. I don't listen to what they say, I simply look at their calendar. Because the calendar dictates priorities. And what I do at the beginning of every year, in a very painstaking way, is I meet with my wife, make sure I understand all the family events, and I make sure that my calendar, from a business perspective, work itself around the family. Not boasting, but it's just a commitment that I made to ensure that I have a level of accessibility to my children. The second commitment that I've made is to treat my wife Sharon like a queen. Now, she'll tell you she deserves it because she does. She's a beautiful, wonderful person, but really that's not the reason. It sends a message to my son on the importance of honoring and respecting women, which is something I think that we would all agree is kind of lost in society. But even more important than that, it gives my young daughter, who's 15 years old, a green light to understand that she has to set high expectations for the men in her life. So let me tell you a quick story. It's a true story. I don't think Sharon's ever heard this story. So back in February, I was invited to go to the White House with a group of retail CEOs to meet with the president and his economic team to discuss taxes and trade policy. This is an important meeting because there was some pretty aggressive policies being floating around in Congress, and I wanted to make sure my voice was heard. So anytime there's a change in schedule, sit down with Sharon, make sure that we look at the family calendar, and I'm not going to upset any priorities we have. But also, if I think I'm going to end up in the national media, I'll make sure the kids get a heads up so they can answer questions at school or address it with their friends. So when I mentioned to Gabrielle that I was going to be headed to Washington, D.C. on February 15th, she immediately reminded me that that was the day after Valentine's Day. And I told her I was aware of that. And she wanted to know, was I going to be, in fact, traveling on Valentine's Day? And I told her I was, and I was predicting where this was going. I said, however, I have a surprise lunch for Mom tomorrow before I depart out of town. At the moment I said that, I could sense the parent-child relationship starting to turn. And Gabrielle looked at me and said, Dad, that's simply not good enough. She went on to say, you may not know this, but Mom really enjoys the dinners that you all have to celebrate Valentine's Day. And although a lunch may be sufficient for you, it is insufficient to celebrate Valentine's Day with Mom, and you simply have to do better. It's a true story. And so my first thought was, who does this child think she is? She's 15 years old, I'm the parent here. you know what, I'm going to show her. And I showed her. I told Sharon, pack your bag, you're going to D.C. with me. True story. So what's the purpose of the story? Well, number one, it taught me that I had actually done a pretty good job of reinforcing to my daughter the importance of having high expectations for the men in her life, starting with her father. But it also taught me as a father, and many of you know this, parents, we never stop learning from our children. So Gabrielle, thank you for teaching your old man something that day. Look, the last point I'll make is the commitment to nurturing the dreams of your children. I think as parents, we all know the importance of that. Yeah, I want to highlight Sharon's mom, who's here. She's a 28-year pastor of a church in Memphis, Tennessee, but she also raised 4 daughters as a single mom in Memphis, and she committed her life to these girls' dreams and did an outstanding job as a parent of having young ladies grow up strong and confident, and that made a commitment in their lives that really elevated their dreams. I want to highlight my dad, who's here, who grew up in segregation in the Jim Crow South. When I was born, my parents were sharecroppers, picking and chopping cotton. That's how they provided economically for the family. Had limited access to education, but preached the importance of education, how education was the unlock from poverty. But they also elevated our dreams of all of my siblings and I. They did not allow the economic environment that we lived in or the lack of success that was visual to us to limit the capacity of our dreams. And my mother's passed away, she's gone to be with the Lord, but I want to thank my dad, who's here, for really investing in the dreams of his children, because without that, I wouldn't be here and nor would my siblings be here. So thanks, Dad, I appreciate the commitment. So look, I'm wrapping up, but since I'm good at embarrassing people, I'll embarrass my dad a little bit further. At the young age of 58, my dad had a massive heart attack. And I remember like yesterday, standing in the examination room of one of the top cardiologists in the state of Tennessee, and he informed us my dad had 10 months to live because the damage in the cardiac arrest was so severe they couldn't even take any type of surgical procedure to repair it. My dad has taught faith all of my life, all the lives of our siblings, and he committed to his faith that he would not accept that judgment. Pleased to tell you that on Monday, we celebrated his 75th birthday. So I want to say, not only am I glad to accept his award, I'm glad at the wonderful age of 75, after a diagnosis 17 years ago, that he wouldn't be here, that he's still going strong. So God is good, thank you, and God bless you.
Wow. Brett hit a home run. Marvin Ellison hit a home run. Happy early birthday, Mr. Ellison. Love equals time. Wife is a queen, and elevate the dreams of your kids. Those are powerful messages. I thank you for those words. Every year I learn something new at this luncheon, and thank you so much. The next guy really doesn't need an introduction. I'm, as I said, from Washington, D.C. I've despised Michael Strahan for years. As a member of the Giants, he terrorized the Redskins. Are you going to invite me back next year, Dan? Probably not. Think about it. But he terrorized the Redskins. He is a 2-time Emmy Award winner. He's a Super Bowl champ. He's in the Hall of Fame. He co-hosts ABC Good Morning America. He works with JCPenney, as Mr. Ellison just said. He has an incredible career on so many different fronts. He's also pretty decent friends with my younger brother, Anthony, and his wife, Alina. And I just want to tell this short story. My brother, Anthony, thinks that he's the best-looking member of the family and the smartest one in the family. And he went out to dinner with Michael, evidently in New York, a couple of months ago. And he walked into the restaurant and said, "I'm here at dinner for 3. Can I have a table?" And the maitre d' said no. And Michael wasn't there yet. And he goes, "Well, you don't understand. I'm Anthony Shriver. I need a table for 3, and the guy goes, we don't have anything, and Michael walks in and goes, hey, how you doing? The guy goes, Mr. Strahan. He goes, Michael goes, table for 3? The guy goes, sure, go right on in. So that was beautiful for Anthony Shriver's ego. Then halfway through the dinner, my sister-in-law, Lena, gets a text, and evidently there's another woman from Miami where they live in the room, and sends a text and says, who's that handsome guy with you? And my brother Anthony saw the text and grabbed it and wrote back, it's my husband, Anthony. So I said, Anthony, oh my God. And Alina said, listen, the guy is hot and he's humble. And he has introduced, Alina has introduced me to Michael on the cell phone, and we've texted a bunch of times. And as Mr. Ellison said, when people become big shots, they often don't reply to text, much less emails or anything. If you text Michael Strahan, he replies within 5 or 10 minutes. It's amazing. There's a real sense of humility, as my sister-in-law says. I should give you all his phone number, and you can see for yourself how quickly. Is that okay with you? Your ratings will go through the roof, I tell you. And I want to thank everybody, I'm sorry, just in the middle of this, to thank everybody who's pledged the support. So I think whatever you call him, whether he's a Redskins killer, whether he's a Hall of Fame member of the Football Hall of Fame, whether he is an Emmy Award winner, I think the title that he likes best is dad of 4 kids, 2 boys, Michael Jr., Tatana, and his 2 daughters, who I have not had a chance to meet, but that are here today, Sophia and Isabella. Ladies and gentlemen, 2017 Father Year, the great Michael Strahan.
And Mark, you will not be back. Safe to say that. But, you know.
You don't want me back?
Oh, no, I do. They whispered in my ear, they don't want you back. Everybody, thank you. And how is everybody? Good, all right, good. I'm honored to be here. I mean, first and foremost, I'm actually surreal to be here. And I got to congratulate Gary, and I have to congratulate Marvin. And to watch your son speak, Gary, tears. I'm surprised you got through that. And that is sincere and great job, young man. And you spoke from the heart, which I love that. And I know you love your father, and he's very deserving of this award. And Marvin, and thank you for the kind words about me, but you're an incredible friend, an incredible partner, and having a chance to meet your family shows me why. I mean, your father, your wife, your daughter, and your sisters and in-laws speaks volumes about the company that you keep, speaks volumes about you. So congratulations to both of you guys on very well-deserved honor. And I'm like I said, I'm honored to be here. And I feel like this award is more better served for my father than me. I mean, I'm the youngest of 6. Got me beat by one dad. The youngest of 6. And I just remember my father always being there. And I think you're right, Marvin, when you say love is spelled T-I-M-E, spelled time. And growing up in Germany, I was the chunky kid. I was big boned, as they like to say. Had a little meat. I was packing, on the backside. My brothers called me Bob, meant booty on back. That's the true story. And it still hurts. But my dad saw that. When I heard that, I started working out and doing all these crazy things in front of the TV. And my dad saw that at 13 years old, and he decided, and he saw how hard I was working, he was going to work with me. And he took me to the gym. He wrote programs. He read every muscle and fitness magazine. He did everything he could to make sure that I got to a place that I wanted to go. He spent all the time that he could to make sure that I was what I wanted to be and worked as hard as I wanted to be to get where I wanted to be. And at that time, I had no idea where that was. I just didn't want the nickname Bob. And it ended up leading to an NFL career. But growing up with my father and growing up in Germany, there were so many trips and so many opportunities that he had that he could have taken. He didn't take them because he couldn't take his kids. We couldn't go, so he wouldn't go. And he would create trips just for us. We always owned an RV. We would drive to Spain to go on a fishing trip. When we were here in the States, we would go to Busch Gardens. We would do all these things that I look back now at 6 kids on the salary that he had. And it's amazing that he was able to do all of those things for us. And my father, a few weeks ago, turned 80. And this, yeah, thank you. And Marvin and I were talking outside. Marvin said, Michael, meet my father. This is a man's man. And you are a man's man, sir. And I know exactly what you're saying, Marvin, because I feel the same way about my father. And he is a man's man. And he's turning 80, and my parents are celebrating 60 years together. Now, I know some of y'all are doing the math. My dad was 20, and my mom was 16. Yeah, I'm going to go get him locked up as soon as I get to Texas this weekend. Start a little early. But, being a father for me is the greatest thing in the world. Someone asked me outside, what is the worst thing you ever did as a father? And I actually thought of something. My oldest daughter, I have 3 girls and 1 boy. Yeah, Tanita is my oldest daughter. She's 25 years old now. And when we first moved to New York back in 1993, we were in the city. We're sightseeing, and what do? With your kid, you put them on your shoulders, and you walk down the street when they can't walk anymore, and they don't want to walk anymore. And we're doing that. We're having a great time. Down in Soho, just walking, looking at all the sights. But then I didn't realize that awning over that building was low. She's okay. We laugh about it now, but it wasn't funny at the time. But I think that is by far the worst thing I can say I've done as a father. But I don't know what I can say I've done best as a father. I think just trying to be an example. For me, retiring from football at 36 years old, after 15 seasons, you can move somewhere and just live. You don't have to work. But I can't preach to my kids hard work. I can't preach to my kids the things that I'm not showing them. I can't preach to my kids about being respectful. I can't teach my kids about respecting themselves, respecting others.